I wanted to see if we could take a complete beginner and turn them into a full-time filmmaker. So I took a random person on the internet, gave them some advice on how to shoot better content and land clients, and here's what happened. So we've now put in all of the groundwork for George's business, so he looks a lot more established and it doesn't put clients off wanting to work with him. If anything, it makes them want to work with him even more than they did at the start. So, been doing loads of outreach, we've got your website, email addresses, content, portfolio, all of those important things. Now, we need to practice meetings. And I practice this with my team members, with my wife, with family members, to try and think and put myself in uncomfortable situations, because believe it or not, I'm not actually a very outgoing person. I can get really nervous when it comes to meetings. I'm always panicky about what they might say, what questions they might ask. Do I look like an idiot? And I've been in lots of meetings where I've literally felt like the ground could just swallow me up. And it's a horrible feeling. So I've started to do more like meeting role plays, and that's something we'll do today, where I can fire some questions at you that have come up to me in those meetings where I've been pitching for tens of thousands of pounds. And hopefully that will help you when you're in any meeting setting to get the most out of it. I want to break down a couple of things here. I want to talk about your dress code, or what to wear to a meeting, what kind of things to bring with you, as well as the psychology in your body language. And then finally, we can go through the actual meeting structure and strategy itself. But before we get going, what I want to know from you is, what has been your take home from this series so far? We've obviously crammed a lot of information into it. What's the thing that you think is going to probably change your business for the better?
I think initially probably the email, because what I didn't realise was how important that email looked, even just straight away from a client's perspective. And I think now instead of having Outlook, which is a bit common, I would say, having now the cucumber.co.uk at the end is just so much better. That's my aha moment for sure.
So I know that you're slightly nervous. I'm excited about this bit because it's normally me sitting in this situation being grilled by a client. You've had a bit of grilling throughout this throughout this process, but you've been doing a lot well anyway, which is great. So I think credit where it's due and all of that. So when you attend a meeting, you really want to take with you a laptop, something that you can show your visual representations of their work. If they ask you, have all of these things prepared as well in advance. So if they ask you for any examples, you can bring them up straight away. Also, we spoke about pricing in the last video, and that's super important to understand what your strategies are with pricing, and try and predict the sort of things that the client might say in the meeting before you actually get there and have to make it up on the spot. Because if you're stumbling over your words because you're nervous or you're not prepared, then it's not gonna build trust in your business. If they lose their confidence, they're probably gonna work with someone else as well. And we've all heard like the famous saying, success is where opportunity meets preparation. The opportunity is your meeting setting. The preparation is everything you're doing in the lead up to it, including your email addresses and your websites and all of those things as well. Now, dress wear, I generally always go really smart. I think what you're wearing is cool and creative, but just remember the type of client you're going to. If you're going to a corporate business where they're all in suits and ties, you should probably wear a shirt. If you're going to a mechanic's garage, you can probably get away with a t-shirt, but try and think about that psychology of how does what you're wearing represent their business. Sometimes if you go to a business that's very labor intensive, or a builder's business perhaps to help, if you're not speaking to the people in management who might be in a shirt and tie, you're going to have a much better chance of connecting with them on a personal level if you're more casual, right? Because you're like, hey, you look like me, so you must be friendly. And it's to do with our primal instincts of that threat management and knowing whether to like run or stay where you are and all of those kind of things. And it comes down all the way down to what you're wearing. Again, if you're going into a corporate setting, really black tie kind of environments, and you're turning up quite simply in what you wore to the builders meeting, probably not going to get the job because you don't look like me, you don't speak that language, and those things are really important to understand. I always think going smarter represents the business, it represents the direction of the business that I wanted to go and push it into, so I always make sure that me and all of my team always dress smartly, or at least appropriate for the type of client we're going to. Next up is psychology and body language, and this is really important because we can obviously always tell if someone is like not that interested. They can be looking away, they can be a bit more slumped and all of these things. You need to make sure you're not doing that. Some things that you do, and I teach on my course in so much detail about this, so I'm just going to skim over it very quickly now, but you can actually build up a rapport with someone without saying a word, just by mimicking their actions. You've got your hands together on your lap right now. If I did the same, you'd feel more connected. You won't know it, but in subconsciously you will. You cross your legs, I'll just cross my legs as well. And there's mirroring body positions that you can do to make that meeting so much more smoother. And that comes in really handy when you have a mismatched personality style. So sometimes people's buying habits are very different, and there's lots of different buying habits. Again, I won't go into all of them right now, but one of them is a mismatched. So whatever I say, you're going to say the exact opposite. And how you can deal with that is by me saying, if I say, you know, this video is $1,000, and you say, well, that's too much. And I can say, yes, it is, and here's why. Here's why it's too much, because we do all of these things. I try not to counter it with an argument of, no, because as soon as I say no, they're going to go the opposite of that all the time. This takes a lot of practice, and I'll be honest with you, I definitely haven't mastered this. This is something I'm trying to work on, because I still get flustered as well. Like, I don't nail every meeting. I come out some meetings thinking, again, I just wish the ground would swallow me up. So let's jump into this role play. I think it's going to be really interesting. I hope you're not too nervous as well, and we'll start that kind of conversation. So I'm actually not going to start with the face-to-face one. I'm going to start with a phone call meeting, because even though it's over a phone, it can still be a strategic meeting that needs to be handled properly. So I want you to imagine that you've just emailed me. I run a mechanics garage, and you've sent me a very nice email saying that you can provide some improvement to my website. You'd like to see lots of different videos on there, and that's great. And I'm going to give you a phone call right now. So, hello. Hey. How you doing? We don't have to do this for the whole time. But I'm going to say, hey, George, I've just got your email. I'd love to know more about it. Can you tell me what kind of things you could do for my business? Now, firstly, by the way, we haven't prepped any of this, and you would have a bit more preparation going into it. However, if you're sending out 50 emails every single day, you're going to have to think on your feet pretty quick, okay? Yeah. So, you know, hey Ross, you know, hey George, it's Ross from the Mechanics Garage, etc. You know, I just have to chat a bit more about what you can do for me.
Yeah. So basically, I think I would start with, I've had a look through all of your social medias, you know, your Instagram, your Facebook pages, and I can see that, not a lot of video is there, and I think that you can really utilize what you do and how your services are through video, 60 seconds. Most
of my work is just going to come from like word of mouth though. So how is like a video on my website? To be honest, mate, I don't even know if many people click on my website. By the way, I'm sorry to cut you off. You get cut off by clients continually, and they will pull tricks like this, and it's really horrible. But yeah, I'm sorry to put you under that pressure. But I've had people, they'll just want to get straight to the point sometimes. So I will be a bit of an asshole on this thing. So, I feel so bad. I'd never do this. But yeah, how would you like? Then you have to kind of quickly think about that. Those responses.
I think to grow your business, you need to be able to,
I'll help you out here. I liked where you were going at with it as well, and I kind of like it's really funny from my point of view, because obviously I'm usually that person, and what I've learned through experience of just being like, oh, I literally don't know what to say here, is ask them the question, I'm really sorry, Ross, what I should have asked is, are you looking to take on any more work at the moment? Because if you're not, then actually, it's probably not worth you doing. You're right. You don't need video on your website, because if you can't take on any more work, what's the point? But if you are looking for more work, then video is absolutely going to help with that, because it's going to help you rank better with SEO, so more people find you on Google. Obviously, I've got a bit more information in my head that I can kind of just regurgitate, really. But it's going to help people engage with your business. It's going to show them what you're about. It's going to make them want to phone you up. That obviously sounds a lot more kind of compelling, but that's kind of the route that I would go down if someone's saying, well, look, like I don't really know how this is going to help me. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes people will literally book a meeting with you and they'll be saying things like this, and you're like, well, why did you book a meeting with me as well? So does that help a little bit in like that particular area?
Yeah. I mean, it makes it so obvious in my head once you've said that.
It's not obvious at the time.
It's not obvious at the time, getting put on the spot like that. So,
okay, amazing.
Yeah, no, I like
that. Awesome. So let's kind of continue on that then. So yeah, look, we'll start afresh. So like, you know, hey George, I just got your email. I'm in the market for video, production. Can you just tell me a bit about your business, really?
Yeah. So basically, what we do is we work with clients and companies to create videos, short videos or long videos, depending on what the kind of company you are and what you want personally. And you know, we try and recreate your service to make them more pleasing to, you know, customers.
Okay, nice. And what so I can kind of see how that would help my business like somewhat, but really it comes down to cost. How much is that going to cost me, mate, at the end of the day? I'm sure it's not free, is it?
No, it's true. I think it depends on what you want as a client, but what I can suggest for you is, I think, you know, we should have a video on your website, you know, that shows exactly what you're capable of doing, you know, what body parts you fix in terms of on cars, you know, with an edit included, it will cost about £600.
Cool, nice, sweet. So I really liked what you did there, where you started to say about like the kind of inspiration behind it as well. Like I think, you know, a video on your website is going to really help you. Conviction is key when you're in any kind of meeting, like having that authority of like, you know exactly how you're going to help that company. Obviously, we're in a bit of a different setting here. You're not in a meeting, but also you're starting out on your journey. So you're not going to get it right first time as well. And that's fine. You know, don't panic. You can always say that I just need to reset myself, you know, whatever. I feel like this when I go into high profile meetings, because I think this could really change our business. This could really help. So I put the pressure on myself in that sense. When you state what your business is about, you did a really good job of explaining kind of like the variety of work that you do. I think we can condense that slightly. That just comes better with time, just getting straight to the point. Yep, we do these kind of videos. This is how we can help you, because they're always wondering what's in it for them. They always want to know, you know, those kind of details, like how am I going to stand out and grow my business? So I would suggest that we could do something like this. When it comes around to pricing, they're looking for the price. So as much as some people say the strategy of like, well, let them come up with what their budget is, and it's like, what's your budget? What's your price? What's your budget? What's your price? And you just end up like this, right? The guy on the phone or in the meeting just wants to know, how much does it cost? So I think you did a nice thing of saying, well, it does depend on what you want, what you're looking for, what's right for your business. But I would then give them a rough sort of estimate. So hopefully that kind of helps summarize, like kind of keeping it a bit more straight to the point. And if they're asking a question, the thing that people don't do in both a meeting and on the phone is quite simply just listen. If you just listen to what questions they're asking and answer their questions. Because if you were asking me some questions and I just kept deviating from the answer, you're going to be pretty pissed off and you're not going to end up wanting to work with me. So just kind of keep those things in mind as well. But is there any questions that you think might come up that you'll struggle with when you're in a meeting situation sitting across the room from someone?
Yeah, I think maybe something on the lines of like, why do they need the video, and why wouldn't they go for someone else instead of me? You know, someone maybe at a cheaper price. Yep. You know, those are the kind of questions that I get tripped up on quite a lot.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that, because I'm sure you're definitely not the only person, because I've experienced that myself as well. And I think this is where the preparation comes in for a meeting. If you think about the client that you're attending and you do a quick bit of research just before you go on site to that meeting, then at least you've got some ammo for you. I always look through their website, so I've always got a list of videos in the back of my head where they say, what kind of things can you do for us? And I can think, right, well, you've got a service page on your website, right? So why don't we have a video on there? Why don't we do some frequently asked questions? And I've always got these things because I've just done a bit of research before I've gone into the meeting, and that will really help alleviate some of that pressure. Why is it important? Normally they won't have you in for a meeting if they didn't understand that. That's normally a kind of a phone call thing, kind of like we've just been over, I guess. However, why should I go with you and not you or someone else or anything like that, right? Christo from the future has an amazing channel where he talks a lot about strategy, lots about marketing. I've learned a lot from him as well. And he says a very, very good point where if you're in a situation, and actually someone who I mentor has been in this situation and used this exact same scenario, where if you're just starting out and someone says like, well, why, you know, why don't I go with you over this person? You can just hit the nail straight on the head, face the person or the elephant in the room and just say, look, go in with them is the safe option. That is, you know what you're going to get, but because they're a bigger business, they're going to offer you a cookie cutter shape. You're not going to be a high priority. They're not going to care as much about you as I do. Yes, I'm a small growing business, but I take this seriously. It means that I'm going to give you 110% of my time, dedication, and to make sure that this project is successful for you. Because if your project doesn't work, then it doesn't benefit any of us. But unlike bigger companies, I will provide that level of care and support over this project. Now, out of that, who would you be swayed to work with?
Definitely smaller.
Yeah, because there's a lot of strength in that vulnerability of like, okay, as long as obviously, you know, everything adds up and your work, I wouldn't normally have you in for a meeting if your work didn't fit, you know, what I was looking for. So they're clearly interested. Then that's a really good way to understand that we forget in business that the person we're talking to is a human. And when you start to see sales as a conversation opposed to a objection handling, grilling, where if you don't get the job, it's the worst thing in the world, and if you do get it, it's the best thing in the world. If you just go there for a chat to find out what they want, it's going to make your mindset so much calmer going into that meeting than if you were going in panicking because you didn't really know what's going to come up. I could honestly sit here all day and go through so many role play strategies and scenarios, but it's definitely something that I would recommend people do more so of. Again, Chris Do at The Future does loads of this stuff on his channel with his mentees, the people he's mentoring basically. And I hope that you guys find it useful. If you do, obviously let us know in the comments, and it's something that me and you away from the cameras can practice a little bit more about. You've now got all the tools and the fundamental building blocks to a successful business. You're not just going out there focusing on the creative, because although you're good at that, that's only literally a small portion of what it takes to run a successful videography business. If you guys want to see if George has had any success from this series whatsoever and landed a client, then you really need to click this video right this second. Otherwise, are you going to know if he's quit his job or if he actually made it to becoming a full-time filmmaker? Click the video right now and don't forget to subscribe.